The near zero energy buildings kind of is a concept written within the recast of the European Performance of Buildings Directive, and it looks at, I suppose it was a political definition in many ways, looking at trying to define for across Europe what a low energy building would be. And I suppose the question of what is a near zero energy building is can't really be answered yet, because countries are still trying to find out. And for those who know about Father Ted, I kind of think about the concept of that program when they were talking about, he was trying to describe to Dougal what was near and what was far. And we're a little bit in that space at the moment, and I'm trying to decide what a near zero energy building is. So the directive basically says that puts a requirement on governments, member states, to ensure that by the 31st of December 2020, so this magic 2020 number, that all new buildings are near low zero energy buildings, and by the end of December 2018, new buildings occupied and owned by public authorities are near zero energy buildings. So the public sector having to lead the way. And there should be plans put in place to make near zero energy buildings happen. And what's defined in the directive as a near zero energy building is a building that has a very high energy performance. The nearly zero or very low amount of energy required should be covered to a very significant extent by energy from renewable resources. So it's not defined in directive in terms of kilowatt hours per square meter per year, or primary energy, or delivered energy. And so what that means now is that there's a lot of debate at member state level is what is that going to mean for Ireland, for Austria. And we have got involved in LIT and Tipperary Energy Agency in a project led by the Northwest Croatian Energy Agency, looking at near zero energy buildings and trying to help the sector develop and learn about what these are going to be. So what's going to be delivered out of the SustainCO project is hopefully a range of supports to support the discussion on near zero energy buildings and to help the sector move towards what ultimately will be the types of buildings that Maurice was talking about becoming the norm and not the exception. The European Commission is supporting our project SustainCO, but also lots of other projects looking at near zero energy buildings. So everything from projects that are doing open houses on near zero energy buildings, looking at training of architects and craftspeople. And already in the Department of Environment in Ireland, they have set indications for when we are going to implement the near zero energy buildings kind of targets. So by 2013, we're going to have another change in our building regulations, which were just modified in the last 12 months, looking at carbon neutral or very low energy building stock for residential, and then reaching the target of 2018 within the directive of near zero energy non-residential buildings. What SustainCO is going to do, I suppose the big chunk, immediate chunk of work is developing toolkits. Toolkits is a very nice European Commission term that we use a lot. It's not going to be a box of stuff that you take to make a near zero energy building. It's going to be a web resource. And I think Paul's word that he uses for the toolkit is, it's actually like a funnel, or you could think of it like a wormhole. Is that near zero energy buildings is such a complicated concept and requires many facets of things to happen to achieve your standard, that we're looking at starting with your basic discussion about what a near zero energy building is, and then bringing you into details about particular aspects be it ventilation, fabric, air tightness, and driving you down then to case studies and project examples on from across Europe and the partners that are involved. So we have partners from Ireland, the UK, Croatia, Spain, Austria, Bulgaria, and Norway, who are driving the project. Where we're at now in particular is looking at the base case of information. And I do have one file here at least to put up on screen. And I'm not sure if Derek is in the room or not, but Derek Blackbeard, one of our colleagues in the Institute, he started work with me a couple of months ago, and my first task was go and find out absolutely everything that's written about low energy or near zero energy buildings. So he now have 35 pages of very basic abstracts from research that's been looking at near zero energy or low energy buildings. What he's found is that there's a lot of stuff there, but it's not about near zero energy buildings. You get into the religious debate about passive house, net energy buildings, low energy buildings, and the definition is broad. So that is one of the challenges, is try to get to some sort of consensus on what a near zero energy building will be. We're also looking at developing a technical or a financial toolkit. Within the recast of the Buildings Directive, one key aspect within there is this thing of cost optimization. So if you pick up on Morris's point, is that there was a significant capital investment on a piece of equipment that had limited benefit in terms of energy. And then how do you help to make those decisions in terms of cost optimization, in terms of how far you go with technology or design or fabric, and particularly in terms of retrofitting. So what is the cost optimum range of packages that you do for a typical reference dwelling? So looking at the different models that are going to emerge for cost optimization across Europe, and each member state has to go and develop that model, and that's starting to happen now. What it means in potentially BER numbers is that new dwellings by 2020 will have energy performances of below 40 kilowatt hours per square meter per year, primary energy. So what does that mean? It means in terms of the construction sector, a whole new way of working. It means for the architects and the designers a whole new way of planning buildings. It means for the occupant a new way of thinking, of using your building as a system. And the planning authorities and the support agencies a new way of looking at how we're going to enforce building standards. So I think the near zero energy, the SustainCO project, which is the name of the project we're involved in, is following on and trying to learn from some of the basic examples from SERV in terms of energy retrofitting a new building. But what we see now is that the leap ahead for the next 8 to 10 years goes way beyond what we've done in SERV, and we have a whole new paradigm shift here and now that we have to take account of.